Okay, so I'd like to introduce Lizzy from TaxJar. Lizzy tonight will be talking about US sales tax. She's got a lot of insight representing the company itself, so feel free to ask questions towards the end. Up to you, Lizzy, now. Everybody can see you.
Okay, great. Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you guys. Thanks for having TaxJar to this event. Really excited to come talk to you about sales tax. Can everyone hear me okay? All right, I'll take that as a yes. All right, so I've got about 20 minutes to talk to you guys. Hold on, let me go ahead and mute. I'm going to mute you guys just for some feedback, and then feel free to unmute and ask any questions at any point. Sound good? All right, so really excited to be here. I'm Lizzy from TaxJar. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about our solution and the problems we solve and help educate you on what's going on with sales tax in the US and let you know exactly what you need to know to be compliant and to handle any of the recent changes with the Supreme Court ruling and Wayfair that you may have heard about. So I'll start by talking a little bit about who we are and what we do. So my name is Lizzy. You guys might have seen me a second ago on video. I'm the CMO here at TaxJar. I have 15 years of experience in e-commerce, selling across multiple channels, Amazon, Etsy, Shopify, etc. I've filed sales tax returns myself for my own business in California and Texas for many, many years. So I know exactly how difficult it can be and the struggles with having to keep up with sales tax or even getting involved in sales tax from the very beginning if you're in that situation. I've talked to thousands of sellers, auditors, pros. We talked with a lot of conversations around sales tax. So I'm here to help you make informed decisions about how you approach sales tax for your business. I will just mention that I'm not a CPA, so I'm not going to give specific accounting advice. If you have specific advice, I'll show you exactly where you can go to get your questions answered. But I'm here to just help you in general make informed decisions and figure out what you need to know to operate your business in the best regard that you can with regards to sales tax. So great to be here. If you haven't heard of TaxJar, so who we are and what we're doing. So at TaxJar, we're on a mission to make e-commerce easier for everyone. So when we say everyone, we mean not only just merchants, but CPAs, developers, anyone that comes in touch with your business that has and really just run your e-commerce business, we're here to make their lives easier. So we're doing that through solving the huge pain point of sales tax. And so we're really excited to talk to you about what we can do and how we can help everyone just make that the whole concept of running an e-commerce business a lot easier from this perspective. All right, so I'm going to jump right into it. So I'm going to talk specifically about Nexus and Wayfair versus South Dakota. So a lot of folks are interested in this. It's come up as a discussion topic with a number of our customers. In addition to, you've probably seen it on the news, folks covering it, wondering what is this and how does this apply to my business? So I'm going to talk a little bit about what this is and how you can handle it. So taking a step back, understanding what Nexus is. If you've gotten involved in sales tax in any regard, you've probably heard the word Nexus come up. And what Nexus means is essentially just where you need to comply with sales tax laws. And so wherever you have sales tax nexus is where you pay sales tax to that state. Regardless of where you are, if you have nexus in a state, you need to pay sales tax. And so we'll talk about what nexus is and how that's defined. But essentially, wherever you're required to comply with the sales tax laws of the state, you can refer to that as a state where you have sales tax nexus. So trying to boil this down for you, it's kind of a scary term, understanding nexus, but we'll talk about what exactly this means. So what nexus means is it's where you have a significant presence or a connection to a state. So whether that is economic nexus, which we'll talk about in a few moments, there's a lot of physical activity that can give you nexus. So if you have employees in a state, if you're drop shipping and you're using a third party that is shipping to customers in a state, if you're running a temporary business in a state, if you have inventory or a warehouse, which we'll talk about in a few moments, or if you have an office or home base, even if it's just you in the corner of your bedroom or garage or your cousin that's in the US running their business, if you have any kind of office or physical presence in a state significant enough defined by that state, then that means you have nexus in a state. And so for a lot of Amazon sellers, which I know you guys are going pretty deep into, the most surprising one and probably the most interesting one for you guys as you're running an international business is that FBA creates nexus. So Amazon FBA is Amazon's fulfillment by Amazon service, which is where I'm sure you guys already know this, but it's where you're using their logistics and using their inventory and warehouse management located in a number of different states that I've shown here in order to get your customers to, or get your products to customers quicker at a great cost. And so the cost of using a service, one of the costs is that you have to deal with sales tax nexus. And so Amazon will actually tell you within Seller Central, it's called the Inventory Event Detail Report. They'll tell you in Seller Central, if you dig into the reports, exactly where your products are being stored, because that's the first thing is Amazon sellers ask is, how do I know where my products are? They will tell you exactly which warehouses they're being stored in, so you do know. But the second thing is you're not able to control this. And so by opting into FBA, you're not able to control and say, hey, I only want my product shipped to these 3 states where I have nexus. So you can very quickly, get into a little bit of a mess with sales tax whenever you join FBA, which TaxJar is a service to help you completely forget about and help you manage. So it might be daunting to look at this map and say, oh no, I have nexus in all these states. The first thing to note is you don't. Most likely you probably have nexus in maybe a couple of them. Your products probably aren't in every single state, depending on the size of your business. As you grow, obviously your products will be stored in more of them. But it's important to kind of know this and where inventory and warehouse goods create nexus for your business. And then also to take a look and see, what's the exposure there? How many products are you storing there that are shipping to customers? Is this material to your business, which we'll get to in a few minutes. So if you're looking to find any more information on Amazon FBA and sales tax, I'm going to jump more into the Wayfair stuff next, but I put a screenshot here on the right of the Amazon dropdown on our sales tax blog. So you're able to read more. We have a ton of content for Amazon sellers on international and domestic, how you handle sales tax as a seller, and when is the right time to register and get started in the state. All right, so now you've understood what Nexus is. You understand the things that define Nexus with all the physical presence, home office, all of that. One of the things I mentioned there at the very beginning was economic nexus. And this is what I'll talk about because this is the most important thing that's happening with the Supreme Court decision from June with Wayfair versus South Dakota. So what happened before this Supreme Court decision was made, the definition of nexus was really only the physical items on that map that I showed. So the warehouses, the home office, brick and mortar stores, that kind of stuff. That was really what was defining nexus. And what's happening is a lot of the states, see that e-commerce is growing. They see the growth of Amazon as well, and they want a piece of their sales tax revenue. So whenever sales tax is not being charged, the states are missing out on that piece of revenue. So they're trying to figure out how they can get a piece of that revenue that they feel like they deserve because, when you're shipping something to a state, you're using their roads, you're using all of their public postal service, all that kind of stuff. So states are trying to figure out a way that they can get their cut of the revenue. So what did they do? So South Dakota was one of the states that created a law called economic nexus, which said, regardless of if you have a warehouse or if you have a home office or anything going on in our state, we don't care. What we care about is if you're doing significant economic activity in our state, we're defining that as nexus and we're requiring you to abide by our laws and pay sales tax. So they define nexus as an economic activity of being greater than $100,000 in gross sales into that state. I'll just clarify that, make sure you understand it's into that state, not overall as a business, or over 200 sales in a year. So even if you're selling $1 items, if you're selling over 200 of them, South Dakota says, hey, if you meet either of those thresholds, to pay sales tax in our state. And so what they did in order to enforce this was they actually sued a couple different large e-commerce retailers that had exceeded those thresholds, a couple of them, and the most notable being Wayfair, who went to court against them. And this went all the way up to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court decided in favor of South Dakota, saying, yes, South Dakota, you made this rule and you were able to enforce it. Economic nexus is essentially a way that states can get their revenue and define it as they see fit. And so it kind of set the precedent for economic nexus being a driver of, having to comply and having to manage sales tax in a state. So that was really what happened with this law, is it went from just being physical presence to being physical and economic presence. So what's happened is, as I just mentioned, it made economic nexus constitutional. So what that means is that every state in the U.S., so each individual state that collects sales tax, because not every single state collects sales tax, there's 45 states that collect sales tax plus Washington, D.C., they're able to make their own laws for what economic nexus is in their state. So right now there's about 23, I think there's actually a few more that have launched since I made this slide. In each state has defined economic nexus in their own way. So they can say it's $100,000 or 200 transactions, and or they can say it's, there's been states that have said it's $10,000 and there's no transaction limit. It's just $10,000. And so each of the states has defined it in their own way, and we keep track of that on our TaxJar blog if you're curious and want to dig more into that. But what's important for sellers and important for folks that are selling e-commerce into the US is that they understand what those laws are for every state and understand where they meet them, so you're aware of your business's liability. And so based on how many sales and transactions you make, that you're actually able to understand where you may have met the threshold for a particular state. And so figuring all this out, you can certainly do it all within Seller Central and spreadsheets and pivot tables and all that fun stuff, but we've tried to make it really easy. As I mentioned, I'll actually talk about that in a second. But so what do merchants need to do now? These are the biggest questions that we get from folks. So the first one is know where you stand. As I mentioned, knowing how many transactions and sales you have in any state, that's the most important thing for you to figure out. And we'll show you in a second how to do that automatically with TaxJar. So knowing where you stand is the biggest thing to understanding, where your liabilities are and where you want to comply as a business. The next thing is to stay updated. So as I talked about in the slide before, there's, states are constantly making changes and enacting new laws, and they're each kind of working on their own way to define economic nexus. So as a result, it's really important to make sure you stay updated. So if there's a state you do a ton of business in right now, and you may not have economic nexus today because they may not have economic nexus in place, but in a month from now they have a new law going into effect. You need to be updated and aware that you have economic nexus in a state, even if it's a new law that's just being started. So we recommend subscribing to the TaxJar blog. If you use a service like TaxJar that we provide, we certainly keep you guys updated within your account with everything that's going on. But even if you're not using our service, subscribe to our blog and just follow what's going on with economic nexus that we will keep you updated for. And then don't wait around. So take action. Make sure you understand, when you know where you stand, figure out where you have economic nexus and handle it. There's a lot of talk of maybe the marketplaces will handle it for me, or maybe Congress will take action. This will all change. If that's a perspective you want to take, you can certainly do that, but you're just limiting yourself and opening yourself up to a lot more exposure by ignoring it and kind of sticking your head in the sand. So we recommend solving it, figuring out, there's a solution like TaxJar. Technology has a way to automate all of this stuff. So figure out, how much of an exposure you have, take action on it, automate it, and move on. Don't continue increasing your exposure and increasing your worry and anxiety around this with the hope that something might happen in the future. And so that's kind of leading into my next point is one of the things, e-commerce is still relatively new within, our world here. And with the growth of it and with the percentage of businesses happening online with e-commerce, we all just need to understand that sales tax is a part of doing business. It's a cost of doing business. It's always been a cost of doing business in the retail world and brick and mortar world, and now it's caught up, and now it's a cost of doing business in the e-commerce world. So don't procrastinate. Again, it's just going to cause you more headaches. Use the software, automate it, and move on and get back to the business you wanted to grow, of your businesses, the profitable piece of your business, and don't mill around on this. We're trying to provide all the tools and opportunity for you to take action. As I mentioned, knowing how many sales, gross revenue, and transactions that you have in a state is the most important thing. So we as TaxJar have created a free service to let you know that instantly, so you don't have to hassle with any spreadsheets. What you do is you create a free trial of TaxJar, and if you go to our website right now, you'll see on the header there's a link to the sales and transactions TaxJar. Click on that header, and it'll show you exactly what our tool does. What we'll do is we've coded in all of the requirements for every single state for economic nexus, and we'll run through any of your Amazon sales, or if you have multiple channels like Shopify or WooCommerce or eBay or anything like that, we'll run through all of your transactions that you upload and tell you exactly how many you have and how many sales you've done in every US state. So that way you can say, okay, these are the states where I've met the threshold for economic nexus that I should be concerned about. And know how to handle it. And when we show you those results, we'll link you to a page that goes into detail. So for example, with Vermont, it'll go into detail in Vermont's law and tell you exactly how to register and get compliant in Vermont if that's the course that you want to take. All right, so that's kind of the wrapped up on just a mini session on economic nexus and Wayfair and kind of getting you up to speed on what you need to know regarding those changes. This is, very complicated and very new, but hopefully with folks that are open to using the sales and transactions checker, you'll be able to automate it in just a few minutes. And it's, again, completely free, no credit card required. You just need to start a free trial and you can cancel it anytime, or you can just let it expire. All right, so I'm going to give you a few slides on how TaxJar works. So if you're wondering, okay, maybe you've used the tool and see that you have economic nexus and you're wondering, what does TaxJar actually do for me? How can you help me kind of forget about this piece of my business and not focus my time and effort on managing sales tax? So how TaxJar works. So what we do is we create a dashboard for you, which is kind of your home base. And this is actually a preview of a dashboard that's coming out very soon, but kind of an update to our UX. It aggregates all of your multi-channel e-commerce sales tax information into one report. So the states don't care if you are selling just on Amazon or if you also sell on a Shopify store. The state only wants to know how many sales you as a business did in their state. So it's not nexus specific. So when you file sales tax returns, you always need to combine all of the channels that you sell into one single dashboard. And then you're able to know exactly where you stand with that state and how much sales tax you collected, if you have collected any, and how much sales tax you may have as a liability. So we save folks hours on filing returns as well. So we have this product called AutoFile, which you'll see here on the dashboard. There's a little blue button that says Enroll in AutoFile. And what that means is anytime you have a sales tax return due, we will file it for you and remit your payment for you. So you never have to fill out a sales tax form or hassle with that at all. And if you've never filled out a sales tax form, they're different for every single state. And when you register for a sales tax permit in any state, it's going to be different for every single state as well. So if you file in Texas, they may say, based on your business size, we're going to ask you to file quarterly. In West Virginia, we're going to have you file semi-annually. So you'll see here on the dashboard, underneath each of the state names, we'll show you the frequency with which you file. And that's something that you tell us because the state tells you. You can't choose, oh, hey, I only want to file annually. That sounds nice. The state will automatically assign you a frequency. So anytime you have that frequency come up, so if it's quarterly, 4 times a year, you tell TaxJar, enroll in AutoFile and file this return for me every quarter. And then we take all the information from your stores and from the sales that you've made, and we fill out your returns, file them with the state, and you're on time every single time. You don't have to worry about penalties or late fees or anything like that if you've got other things in your business and miss a sales tax return. Another thing that we provide that I'll just kind of gloss over, since you guys are mostly Amazon sellers, that we provide sales tax calculations during checkout with our API. So if you are running a multi-channel business outside of Amazon and you have a custom cart or using a Magento store, for example, you can count on us for sales tax calculations. So at your point of sale, we'll calculate how much sales tax you should be collecting. And so essentially what we do is just put your sales tax in autopilot. So instead of filing returns, in a state like California, it can take you a few hours to file returns. And instead of having to do that, that time can be better spent sourcing and, improving your business, because sales tax is not a profitable piece of your business. So you really just want to outsource it to us, manage it, and, put it on autopilot. So you can just log in, see where we're filing your returns and say, all right, I'm good to go, and then keep going. So that's essentially what we do without getting into too much detail. And then I'll show you a few slides about kind of who we are and to give you some thoughts on why TaxJar if you're looking for a sales tax automation. So I'll go over this pretty quickly because I know I want to get to any questions if you guys have any. Number one is customers love us. So we're the number one sales tax solution, highest rated on all the review sites that are out there. So if you're an Amazon seller, you can specifically look at the Amazon Solutions partners pages, and you'll see that we're the highest rated and most rated solution of anyone on that channel. You can also check out our reviews on G2 Crowd, Capterra, Shopify, etc., and any of the app stores to take a look at what folks think of us. Because as I told you in the beginning, I'm a seller myself, and the best way to understand and actually provide value is to talk to other sellers. So peer reviews are really important for us. So definitely check that out. We're built for modern e-commerce. So you think about things like Wayfair that just happened, and we're the only solution that comes out with a sales and transactions checker immediately after that happened to help solve that need. So because our software is modern, because we do it all in-house, we make it really easy, and we are able to adapt to whatever happens within the environment and make sure that our solution is the best for solving and making sales tax easier for everyone. And then lastly, you have support. So if you read through the reviews, as I mentioned on the left in the first bullet, our support is something you'll see come up time and time again. So we offer a couple different options in our plans. One of them, our basic customers get email support. And when I say email support, what I really mean is the best email support. We answer all of your questions as soon as possible. Usually that's within hours. So you're not, sending a ticket off and then getting something back 3 days later. Our support team and our support of our customers is really, really important to us because we know how much frustration and complications arise with, managing sales tax. So it's something you'll see come up in our reviews a lot, and it's something we're really proud of. And so we just wanted to mention that. And then we also, these are some customers that use us, and at the bottom I have the links to the reviews. And so you guys can click on any of those and see the reviews and how we stack up. But, at top, we're really proud to have a lot of great customers that rely on us. So, from any customer size, very small to very large, or for even just getting started, we're a great solution because we can scale with you as you grow. And I'll keep going on. And then, as I mentioned, there's 2 different plans that we have. So our basic plan that includes the email support, that starts at $17 a month. And so what that does is gives you access to your dashboard, combines all of your sales tax data, gets you everything you need to file on your own. And then if you choose to auto file, that's an additional fee. And it depends on how many states you're filing on. The price scales, but it's around $20, $25, it depends. And it can go a lot less if you're filing in 10 plus states. And then we also offer a higher touch solution for more enterprise kind of mid-market growing businesses called TaxJar Plus. And that includes more support, more go live assistance, technical onboarding, and that includes phone support. So if you ever need us, we're 24/7 support team available for you. So that's a little bit about what TaxJar does. And then the last thing I'll leave you with is we have a ton of content. I'm happy to answer questions about this afterwards as well, but we have a ton of content specifically on international and how international sellers should be treating sales tax. So now that you understand Nexus and you understand the Supreme Court decision, you probably have a lot more questions around, when is the time to register? When is the time to get compliant? And so I'd definitely recommend on our blog dropping down the categories to international. And then we also have specific categories like Amazon, for example, if you wanted to dive deeper in Amazon sales tax. So I'll stop there. I know I didn't have a ton of time here, so I apologize if I went a little too quickly through some of the pieces. But if you guys have any extra time, I'm more than happy to answer any questions you guys may have, or yeah, I'll leave it at that. I think you guys might still be on mute, so you might need to unmute.
Oh, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Do you have any questions?
Sorry, it's hard to hear you. I don't know if there was a question asked, or maybe you could repeat it to me.
Okay. Any questions? No? Okay. Looks like we don't have any questions, Lizzy. Thank you very much. It's been really good presentation. The presentation today is recorded as well, so people can watch it afterwards. But thank you very much. And I'd like to thank everyone also for doing this together. So thank you, Lizzy.
Thank you, guys.
Bye. Bye.